Hey everybody, it's me, Undead Viking. I'm here with a video review. Before we even get into that, I would just like to point out that you can say goodbye to at least this Twins cap. This is what happens when you own a wiener dog and you wear your hat at the gym and then you don't put it away. They tend to rip these things apart. I love my little wiener dog, but this is about the fourth Twins cap that she's done this to. So either she has to learn or I have to learn not to leave it sitting around. So, back to the Minnesota Twins stocking cap. Anyway, the game I'm reviewing today is Madeira. Madeira is a game from What's Your Game Publishing. And I do think, in the past, What's Your Game Publishing, I think they had to have their stuff printed off by like Z-Man or something like that. But I think these games, they're actually distributed now from What's Your Game here in the States. This game is for 2 to 4 people, and it says it's about the game can last, depending on the number of players, can last up to 2.5 hours. I laugh at that time because I have not been able to get a game of this done in under 3, and which isn't. I'm not mocking the game. I'm just saying maybe it's us, and I have a lot of analysis paralysis prone players in my gaming group. But that is one of the charms of this game. I refer lovingly to some Euro games as soul-crushing, mind-numbing Euros. And I don't say that to make fun of it in any way or to look down on them. I reference them as such because they are a completely different game experience than a lot of the things that are out there. If you have a game with layer upon layer upon layer of different actions and different processes, where one action chains into another, which chains into another, which basically makes it so you never seem to have enough time to do what you want. You never have enough actions to do what you want. You never have enough resources to do what you want. That sort of thing. So you have agonizingly tough choices. That's when those are the games I refer to when I refer to these. And I deeply, deeply enjoy these types of games. Basically because I look at them as a big puzzle that I have to figure out that really doesn't have a solution. There's lots of Euro games out there that, eventually after you've played them 5 or so times, you kind of know, which path down the current you're going to take. And you kind of know, what you have to do. And Madeira isn't completely apart from that. It's just the problem with this game is, and I shouldn't say the problem because it's a good problem, the tricky thing about Madeira is that it's never easy. And at least now after, a half dozen plays or so, I haven't really figured out, which currents I have to go to, and games like this, games like Terra Mystica, things like that, I am horrible at these games. I just can't ever seem to get things going, but for some reason they keep drawing me back in, and I desperately want to play them again to battle my wits against the game as well again. So I'm going to show you how to play Madeira. And it is a very complex game. I have no idea how long the gameplay portion of this video is going to last. It'll be a chunk of time. I'll say that. I will try to get through it to not bore you too much, and then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to tell you exactly why this game has been so wonderfully, painstakingly brain-burning for me, and why I think that if you're in the mood for one of those types of experiences, this is a must-buy. So, alright, how to play Madeira. Alright, this is Madeira, and there is a lot of stuff going on here, and I do apologize. This is a game that has a lot of moving parts and a lot of different areas of the board that do a lot of things. So if you're watching this at home, I would strongly suggest, if you haven't already, put it to HD and maximize the screen, because so you can see all the little parts and bits and pieces, if you will. So anyway, Madeira is all about, thematically, each player is trying to cultivate these two islands that make up Madeira, because they have a very fertile landscape. They can grow, grapes, wheat, and sugarcane, and you do this over a process of 5 rounds by using your influence to get different important officials. These are the characters, if you will, that are part of this island, like province or what have you. That was ruled by Portugal, I guess, or maybe still is, but I'm not really up on my geography of the area. But the whole process is, during successive turns, you will take these crown, like what the Kingdom of Portugal is requesting of you, and those are these tiles down here, and then you're turning those tiles in to get points. And you turn them in on the 1st, 3rd, and the 5th round of the game. So like during the 2nd and the 4th round, you're not turning those in. You're kind of spending that time building up towards turning them in, so you can turn them in for the most points possible. I'm going to try to show you how a turn goes and just what each of these different parts does and how they interact. I know I'm gonna miss something, or I'm going to forget to remind you of something. So for that, I apologize in advance. But we'll just kind of roll forward, and we'll see how this goes. Okay, I've set it up for 4 players. You can see the 4 different colors: blue, purple, red, and yellow. Yes, these are dice, and there are more dice here. And to begin the game, what you do is you have these 4 like crown favors, crown demands tiles, and they have these little crowns in the back, and they have these fronts, and these are the very first favors or requests that each player will get 1, and this will determine the turn order. I'm just going to explain. Basically, you turn these out, and then the person who gets like the first player, second player, third, fourth, so on and so forth. Pretty simple, right? And so then you set that up right there. I'm not even going to show you what these things do just yet. We'll worry about that when we get to the end of like showing the first round, when you're turning in your tile for points, and I'll show you what each tile does. So after that is done, that's when you complete all the setup. You randomize these character cards, and you place them. There's 4 of them, and each turn there will be 1 spot that is left open. And there's the number here, 1, 2, and so on and so forth. And you leave those open, and you then move forward, and then you go to the next, so in the second round, this one would be left open. And so there wouldn't be a character action on that particular spot. So you can always like harvest on the location or take the character action when you place a die on that location. So it's it's a kind of a fine difference. So basically, when a character is not on that spot, the spot can only be used for harvesting. However, the harvesting is increased, but I'm once again getting ahead of myself. I want to kind of talk about each different part of the board before I get that far. Scoring track all the way around, pretty simple. Not even going to go too much into that. Over here, this is the windmill. Basically, at almost nearly any time during each round is split up into 5 phases: A, B, C, D, and E. During the B, C, and D phase, you can turn in 2 wheat and move your token up this chart. You might be saying, well, why would I want to do that? Well, because when it comes time to feed your workers, if I can actually, time to feed your workers, depending on what level you are, you automatically feed that number of workers, and not having to turn in food for that is very, very powerful. If you ever get to the very top, which is a 7, and you turn in 2 wheat, you automatically get point, which might not seem like much, but points are kind of tough to come by, and so that can be very useful to do. Alternatively, if you are in a situation where you need bread or you need coins, you can lower yourself on the windmill chart, and then you can get 3 coins or 1 food. And you can do that all the way to the bottom until you get to the bottom. And then if you want to do it then, you have to lose a point on the chart here, and then you get 1 money or 1 food. You can't do that if you are at 0 points, though. You can't like go into negative points in this game. Also, at the windmill I should mention that you can only do the lowering during phases B and C, which it'll make sense when we get to when I explain the phases. Also, over here during phases B, C, and D, you can always turn in 2 of any resource, and that bread is not a resource and wood is not a resource. There is wood in this game. Yeah, make all your jokes you want. So you could turn in like 2 resources like this. They don't have to be the same, they can be different. And see, there's 3 resources. There is sugarcane, wheat, and grapes. And so you could turn in like these 2 to get a sugarcane. You could turn in 2 grape for sugarcane or 2 grape for wheat. But you can just always change 2 for 1 if you desperately need that 1 extra one, maybe for some extra points or whatever. Up here is the City Watch. Each player starts with 2 people up in the City Watch. These are pirate dice. You have normal action dice. Each player will get 3 of those, depending on which, and they always get 3. But they also have access to pirate dice, which they can use as well. To use a pirate die, you have to have somebody in the City Watch, and you take the person off the City Watch. Basically, the pirates have bribed a member of your City Watch, and you remove that that worker. And then you get access to another die. Whenever you are able to put a person up in the City Watch, which is kind of a good thing, because you get to lose 3 of your pirates. And pirates are these tokens right here, and you end up taking pirates because if you ever don't have enough resources to, say, maintain your ships or feed your people, you have to take pirates in those situations, and other situations as well. And so being able to return pirates back to the board so they aren't so you don't have negative points at the end of the game is very important. Also, there is a phase at the end of the turn where if you have the majority of workers in the City Watch, say you have 3 and everybody else has 2, you can take 1 and remove it, and you can get 4 points for that, and that's pretty good actually. But if like 2 people are tied for the most in the City Watch, then nobody gets to do it. All right, over here there's these 2 sections where you can place your ships. Ships are just little wooden ships, and everybody gets I think 6 of them, if I remember correctly, or 6 or 8. Anyway, you then get to place these in. These are the colonies. If you place a ship in a colony, you have to be able to pay the resource in order to do it. And then you can see that there's like different amounts of grapes to place the person in the colony, the ship in the colony. And then if you do this and there's a token left on here, you can see there's these tokens here. You get to take one of those tokens and immediately apply it, and each of those has a different action. I'm not going to go into those. Basically, if you've seen any, they replicate an action that is already done somewhere on the board, but it's like a free action, if you will. You have to, as I said, be able to pay the grapes to be able to do that. The colonies have a position to put a player. You can just put people in these spots. Now, if you happen to have like a couple of ships, say Red's got a couple of ships here in this colony, and they're able to move a worker, and you do these, I'll explain the actions when I do the turn, you get points for each ship when your person goes there. So like Red would get 2 points because they have 2 ships in that spot where they've just placed them. You don't get like successive points. Like if you next turn you leave him here and he's still there, he doesn't get points again for being there. However, leaving them is good because these do earn you free resources. Every person that's on this colony gets a wheat during the production. This one is sugarcane, this one is grapes, and so you just get those for free. Down here, these are like the market trade routes. And what happens here is that if you turn in a certain number of resources, just in here, listed here, you earn the money that is listed down here. Money is very important because it is used for when you start doing these actions up here. Not the character actions so much, but the actual actions of the spaces that are listed underneath. But we'll get into that, as I said, once we get to that point. Finally, over here, these are the different towns and the different provinces, and these are the different nobles, or the different people that you can through actions that you're doing up here, you can take these and you can put them in front of you, these people. And these people will have powers that you can enact, and they have very specific times when they can. Some of them are almost any time. Some of them are, like only during certain rounds or whatever, or certain phases of each round. But say this person here, just this person allows you to go up one spot on the windmill, just for free. And then when you use them, you flip them over, like so. And you can't use them again until you're able to flip them back over. And there's several different ways to get them flipped over, and I'll explain those as well as we explain the game and how you play it. All right. You will notice that you have workers out here already on these different spots on the island. Look at, there's tons of stuff going on here. This is such an awesome game. You'll notice that there's resources that they're on: sugarcane, wheat, and the grapes. And also you notice that there's a spot here that has wood, and you'll see these little piles of wood over here. If you have a worker on a space that has a pile of wood, when you harvest, you can take that wood off that spot. And you can't use the resource that's underneath it until you actually clear it out. So you have to take all the wood off the top. This spot in here is like an unending forest. You can always gather wood there. Now, that's important because there are going to be tons of times during the game that you can either harvest wood, or you'll have situations where it says you need wood to be able to do this action. Okay, let's just get that out of the line. Okay, and you have to pay money to get the wood, but then you have to actually have access to wood to be able to, anyway, you know where I'm going with this. And there's this little chart up here, and it may be a little tough to see, but if you're getting a wood resource, it costs 1 coin, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. And if you are harvesting the wood and clear cutting, these are going to dry up pretty quickly. But you can always have a person in here, and that is unlimited. There's unlimited wood in there, and you can go ahead and grab that as you will. All right, so I think, well, one last thing. This is the turn order board. What happens is that you have this turn order, and the very beginning turn order is important because of the fact that is the person. This person gets to pick which row of dice, once we roll them, they want. And the dice are very important. High roll on the dice have 1 through 3 on them, is always better. So they get to pick one, and then depending on which roll, they get to pick another, like a crown demand here that they're going to be able to turn in for points. And you're going to use all of these that you get throughout the game. So you got to make sure you pick ones that you think you're going to be able to get. So they pick that, but you can also notice that once you pick that, you will move up and down the row as well, and that will also determine your turn order during this process. So you may be getting to pick first as far as the dice are concerned, but you will end up moving down to the over here, and you'll be going last during the round when people are actually doing actions and so forth. So it's kind of a depending on how the dice show up, that's how that works. It should be noted that at any point when you're doing your actions, and I'll probably touch on this again, but you get to pass. And when you pass, you then move your token over to here, and you will pick which spot you want to do. And there's an action on each one of these spots. It's basically a free action. You can either take the free action or you can take the coins. And there's 2 coins, 3, 4, and 5 here. And this is like no extra action. If you wanted to do here, what you could do is you could move one of your people down here into this area over here. And I totally forgot about the provinces. You actually put people over here because you can actually use an action to gather money, wood, and food over here, depending on where these neutral people are and where your color of person is as well. So that's something also an action that you do. But so you can do that. This would allow you to put a person down in there and you get a point for just putting a person in the province. This allows you to put a person into the city watch, which then of course you can get rid of some pirates if you gained one. And this one is pretty good because it immediately allows you to put a ship over in one of these empty spots as long as you have like the necessary requirements, and then you immediately get the bonus for doing that if there is any, and so on and so forth. So that's the game board. And finally we're going to talk about the process of the game turn, and so we'll go through exactly what we do. So first things first, you roll the pirate dice and determine how many. 3, 3, 3, you say. Okay, well, good pirate dice out there. So we have our pirate dice rolled, and then we're going to roll the dice to determine each row of available dice for the actions. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And these, like I said, higher rolls are always better, but it isn't like low rolls aren't any good. I mean, they're just, you can still do things with it, but you can still, you know, find a way, if you will, to use the dice that you want. All right, so the first player is going to choose which one of these rows they want. And you know, this one's obviously pretty good because 3, 2, 2, and they get one of these. These are kind of middling, but this one, a 3, 3, and a 2 is pretty good, but you're going to go last. And so, you know, blue is going to, you know, stay the course, and blue will take those, and will stay in this first turn. Now, you will notice that there is this color on this shield. You know, white, green, and then orangey, red, and purple. And that matches these nobles over here, these people that give you that extra ability. If blue had, and they wouldn't have at the beginning of the game, had a white noble that was turned over, he could turn all of them over to be able to be used again this turn by taking that row. Another thing that people take into account when they are going to be taking which row of dice they want. Now, so, you know, maybe blue is going to take this crown demand, and this one's pretty simple and straightforward. This one just has, you get to, at the end of the round, if you want to turn this one in a scoring round, first, third, or fifth round, you turn this in and turn in a number of coins, and that's how many points you'd get for that one. So we'll just take that. So purple decides it wants the good dice. So purple will go down here and take these, and you know, place those, and you know, we'll go last. I should have actually put these discs over here. It'd be less confusing. I do apologize for that, but I'm sure you're following along. Yellow, it's pretty much interchangeable. So yellow, oh, and purple's got to take one. So purple will take this one, and this is, you'd score any ships you have in these market areas down here. And you notice there's a 3, 6, and 4, a 6, 4, and 3, and 4, 3, and 6. So you get to score 3 ships, and like the first round, they're worth 6 in this location. They're worth 4 in this third round, and you know, so on and so forth. So obviously we want to get some ships down here into the sugarcane area for purple, if we're going to score that one this round. Remember, they got other ones at the beginning as well. So yellow, as I said, it's fairly interchangeable. So yellow is going to take this one, and they will take, well, just, you know, so we can actually just show you which one of these works. This is what's called, you notice these match up with different provinces over here. If you have the most people in this particular province, you score the big shield here, 15, 12, or 10. If you don't have the maximum, you score the second number. You see over here. If you're tied, like you have 3 and somebody else has 3, you then take whoever is the furthest right on this track. You take that, and and as these nobles get taken, more of these spots open up, and you're able to place more in there. So yellow is going to take that one, and finally red will stay where they are, and they'll take that. And red could either pick. I'm just going to show you this one real quick. This is the same thing as the ships, 3 ships, but you're scoring them on these locations. And once again, depending on the round, they score a different number. Or you can take, there's this one as well. And this one is these nobles. For every 1 you have of each color, they're worth 5 points, but they have to be face up when you score them. So if you had 1 face up of each color, this is worth 20 points, a big, big chunk of points. But I think we're going to take that one for red for this area here. All right. So each person is going to have 3 dice, and they're going to have another crown reward that they're going to be working towards turning in. And they're going to try to figure out how they're going to get those favors, and if they had or those demands met, and if they had like any of these colors of the these guilds, nobles, or whatever, they could have flipped them over. But obviously it's the first round, so they don't. So now we move on to basically the actions of each person taking one. And so blue will go first, and you take this little die, this little disc, if you will, and you take a die. And notice you can, if you want, take a pirate die, but then you do not use one of these squares. And you'll take this die, and you'll look at the different characters that you want to use, and try to determine which one you want to, which action you want to possibly have at your disposal, like both the character action right away, but also the action underneath it that matters as well. So I'm going to take a moment here, and I'm going to explain each one of these to you, and just so you know how they work. So this guy here, I forget their names. I don't know what this guy's name is. He looks happy with himself, though, don't you think? If you notice here, this is that shield. These are those guild people, as you see. And notice each one of them has this down there, which means that you can always harvest if you wish. Which means that when you harvest, you look at the area that they represent. So this is up here, so it's this region here. For each person that you have, you get to harvest the resource that's on that spot. So you'd get wood in these locations, a grain here, and sugarcane here. You notice this is not part. This spot right here is not part of any region. You just you have to actually need wood and not have it, and then you get to just draw wood out of that area. But he allows you to take, after you place your character on there, you can either harvest or you can immediately take one of these people, and you get them for the rest of the game. Nobody else gets them, but you have to pay the wood. 2 for this row, 3 for this row, 4 for this row, or 5 for that row. You have to pay that wood to be able to claim that person. Now each person has some starting resources. You start with 1 each, like a wood and a grape and so on and so forth. You start with, I think, 10 coins. I think you start with 4 food. So you have some money at your disposal. Also, I should mention that for the first player thing, like, you get extra money for, like, I think the first player gets 2, and then 3, 4, and 5. So, like, if you're last place, you get more money. But anyway, so if you go there, you immediately get to take somebody. If you can pay for the wood that's there, and then, like, if you have a person here or you have a person on these spots to, like, draw the wood from the spot, you can then pay the money off this chart, and then so you can take that action and take the guildie that's over there. This dude, what he does is he allows you to take workers, and these can be any workers. And notice when I say, like, placing workers, most of the time, placing workers, unless they're in the city watch, you have to have a specific action that will allow you to remove somebody from the city watch. But most of the time, with the moving workers, they can come from anywhere. They can come from on your at your home, like in your supply, or you can move them around for wherever they may be on the board. But this guy allows you to place more workers in the fields. When you set up the game, you can only have one worker in one spot and only one worker in each region. But after that, anybody can be placed anywhere. You just can't ever put more than one of your workers in the exact same spot. But you know, blue can habitate this spot with me. Every person can have every person in any location on the board. That's your option. So that he allows you to place up to 2. You can place 1 if you want. You don't have to place any if you don't want. You can just be putting a die there to use up a spot, because you can only have as many dice on a spot as you have players. So if you're playing 4 players, there's 4 dice on there. That means that, including pirate dice, but there is also an inclusion for pirate dice. You can only place 1 pirate die on a spot. So you can't, like, first person can't go there, and second person can't do that. They can't put another pirate die on there. You can only have a pirate die, at least 1 pirate die on one each spot. So that's what that guy does. I believe this guy's like the commander. He's got like the armor on and what have you. And what he does is he allows you to take 2 ships, obviously, and place them where you will. To place a ship, you have to pay a wood to do so. If you don't have the wood, you can get wood. So you just then go ahead and place them, the 2 ships, as long as you can pay the resource cost and do it. You can't just place something somewhere and not have the resources to do it, just to block a space. You can't do that. So you have to do that. You have to take care when placing your ships out, because after they're out, you never get to come home, and you have to upkeep them every round with wood. They cost 1 wood resource for every round, just to keep them up to date and floating, if you will. And you can't not pay that. If you can't do that, you take pirates for not being able to. This guy here, he allows you to move 2 workers down here, and you get to place them, and you can't, like, interchange, you can't swap spots, whatever, and you can't, like, so, like, you can go here, and you can move the neutral people too. You can move there, and, like, you can move there if you were like yellow and you wanted to collect bread, because once after you do all your moves, you then get to collect the resource that's on that spot. In this case, like, this is the bread location. You collect 2 for every one of your workers you get, and 1 for every neutral worker you have. So in this case, you get 1, 2, 3, 4 in that location. Note, he doesn't allow you to place any, like, a new person in town. He allows you to move the people that you have in that section. Finally, we have this spot. It has no character. I think there's like an expansion or something that adds a 5th character, but it's not. I don't have that, so I apologize. I want to get it. I got to find it. But the 5th character, what it does is it allows you to harvest, just like everywhere else allows you to harvest. The difference with this is it allows you to harvest, but also it allows you to, whenever you take one that has no character, you get to harvest, but you also get to harvest 1 spot twice. So, say purple harvested here, they would get to harvest the wheat, but then they get to harvest the wheat again. So you'd get 2 from that. And so if you had one in every single location, you could harvest everything once and then get to harvest 1 spot a second time. So that's the bonus of doing that. Now, I'm not going to run through, I'm just going to kind of throw dice down. I'm not going to run through each person going through. I wish I had the patience to do what Richard does. I do not. So I'm just going to kind of put these down the way I'm, perhaps maybe they'd work. This is just to facilitate showing you the next round and what happens after this. Now, for each one of the green dice that gets placed, they get an action tile along with it. So, and you can place, as long as there's an opening in that location, you can end up playing, putting more than one of your action tiles in that location, but you only ever get to take that action once. So you get to take the character action twice, but just because you have an extra action tile in the spot, it doesn't mean that you get to do it again. So we'll go ahead and we'll just, let's do that. And I'm just like, this probably isn't the most clever method of doing it, or I'm playing my mythical players poorly at this moment. But I just, like I said, I want to be able to show you how this works. So there we go. So now we have these action tiles on each one of these locations, and after all the character actions are done, then we will go ahead and we will then process each of these particular, like the second part, the part that's below. We will process those and take those actions one at a time as well. So to move on to the building actions, what we have to do is we have to re-roll all these dice. And I realize that's it seems like it seems counterintuitive, but the dice, like at this point, they meant something to be placed. Oh, and I totally forgot a rule. I apologize. When you place a die on a location, you have to pay the difference in bread between the number of the location and the number of the die. So in this case, a pirate die here costs nothing. This die costs nothing. This would cost 1 bread because it costs, there's a 2 and there's a 3 here, so it costs 1 bread. This would cost 2 bread to place there. So it's kind of, oh my gosh, I just realized I screwed something up. This is the first spot that is open, so this should be over here. And I do apologize. Oh man, am I embarrassed. So this will go, let's just reverse those so I can pretend that never happened. So there. I apologize. There's a Roman numeral 1 up here, and for some reason I saw the number 1 here, and I just totally bounced on the rule. So this is the one that's open to begin with, and so on and so forth. This number, the number on here actually tells you the order in which you resolve the buildings. So I apologize for that. So anyway, so what happens is that each person has an action marker on this spot. Now some of these spots, if they don't have any action markers on them, then you just skip them entirely and you don't worry about them. And so you reroll the dice and you total up the amount. So 2, 4, 5, 7. So you get a total of 7 on there. Now with 4 players, you'll see there's this little thing up here. It says 10, 9, and 8. With 4 players, it costs 10 to take this action down here, minus the die roll that you have. So in this case, it's 7. So if you want to take the action that's down here, it's going to cost you 3 coins to do it. Now, if you decide not to take and not pay 3 coins, you then have to take a pirate for doing it. And so you take 1 pirate, plus if there was a pirate die, like there was over here, you take whatever was rolled in the pirate die as well as your total pirates for that particular spot. So in this case, though, each person would either pay 3, and then what they get to do is they get to this spot. It's getting bread. So if they, and then also depending on how many workers they have in that region, they get to, with 1 worker, they would get to take 2 bread. With 3 workers or more, they would get to take 5 bread. And so that is that particular building action. Okay, so we're moving forward. We would go here, and we got a pretty good roll actually with the pirate die. So 3, 3, and 3, so 9. Obviously, it's pretty good. So it only costs 1 in this particular spot. This spot, the building action, is being able to place workers down here in the city, and in one of these 3 cities. And once again, you would, for like if you have 1 worker, you'd get to place 1 of your workers, you know, either from home or from anywhere on the board except for the city watch, into the city. If you have 3 workers in that region, you get to move 2. And you get 1 point for moving 1 person in, or 3 points for moving 2 in. So going this counterclockwise fashion, we get over here, and we roll, and ooh, not a great roll. So we'd have a total of 7. So for here, 3 money. And notice, like, this is one of those phases where if you don't have the money, you can start thinking about moving down on the windmill to gain money to pay for these things. But over here, if you pay for the building action, you get to move your people into one of these locations, and you can start scoring some points by placing the people in one of these 3 colonies. And you'd score points if you had ships in that location. Now, and this is with a 1. If you didn't want to pay that, pay the amount for that, or just didn't want to take the action, you can pay for the money and just not take the action, so you don't get the pirates. But if you take the pirates, you would get 1 pirate plus 1 for that. And so over here, we roll, and we get a decent roll. So we have an 8, so it costs 2. Over here, you get to flip over one of these tiles if you happen to have one. If you have 3 workers in this region, you'd get to flip over 2 of them. Nice way to be able to reuse those actions. Also, if you're going to be scoring one of these tiles at the end of the round, 1 for each one, a real good way to flip over those people, so then you get to score them at the end of the round, because they haven't reached the end of the round yet, and then you're going to be able to score those points. And finally, over here, with only 1 die, so this is one of those things I like about the game, is that if you go to the location, like, right away, and nobody else follows you there, it can kind of stink out loud if, like, you get over there and nobody else follows you, and then all of a sudden now you've got to pay, you know, a bunch of money to do the action if you want to do it. Or if you don't end up doing the action, then you have to take maybe some pirates, or, you know, so it can be a bad deal. So always be aware about placing a pirate die somewhere, and then maybe it'll end up all by itself. You know, because, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Be wary if there's a pirate die on a spot, and you go there and place you and your action marker in that spot, because the action markers, you have to have an action marker in the location for the building action and for the pirates to be gained. But so if you end up with just one of your dice and the pirate die in there, it can end up being pretty bad for you. You know, if you get like a 4 and you got to pay 6 or something, and there's like 4 pirates taken because you rolled a 3 on the pirate die, it can be bad. But anyway, in this location, this allows you to move either 1 worker with one worker in this area. You get to move 1 worker into the city watch, or if there's 3, you get to move 2 into the city watch. And that's a way to get rid of pirates, obviously, and also be able to get that hero of the city watch reward if you have the maximum, and you can get those points for doing so. All right, so after you've done all the building actions and you've gone all the way around to the back, now you get into the maintenance of the round. And to do maintenance, you do the city watch thing first. If you have a maximum, you get to pull 1 back if you want, and you get 4 points for doing that. Then you have to do income. So each person that you have in the colony lands will gain you these resources for that particular spot. Then, if you have any ships in these locations out here, for every ship that's out and you know, at the colonies or in these marketplaces, you have to pay 1 wood. And once again, if you don't have it, you can harvest it if you have access to it, and then you can go ahead and you know, pay that, and then pay the coins if you have to. If you can't or don't want to, you can't. The game can't make you. A lot of games you play, like they say, if you have the resource, you have to spend it. Not so in this game. In this game, if you have the resource, but you don't want to spend it because you want to save it for something or whatever, or maybe you have a really easy way to get rid of pirates, you just don't care, but you have to take a pirate for each of the wood that you're supposed to pay that you choose not to. You take a pirate for those. And then, finally, you feed all your people. And so each person on the board, doesn't matter where they are, you have to pay them a food. And if you can't pay them a food or choose not to pay them a food, you once again take a pirate if you don't have that. So if at the end of the first round, that's when you score one of these tiles, and you'll score that just by moving yourself around on the board. At the end of the second round, instead of scoring a tile, any wheat fields that have been, like, that started off as a wheat field, like this one here, and then it turns into sugarcane. Any wheat field that was supposed to turn into sugarcane, if it's been clear cut of all the wood, you then just take a sugarcane tile, and that becomes a sugarcane field. If after the end of the second round it hasn't been like that, say there's like a wood on there, it won't ever switch. It'll stay, even if that last wood is taken, it'll stay a wheat field forever. And then the third round, you turn in 2 of these tiles. The fourth round, you convert any sugar field that becomes a wine field, like say this one up here. You would, like, if all of that wood was gone, you would then put the grape token on there, show that it is a wine field. Same deal. If it didn't switch over, it never will for the rest of the game. And finally, in the fifth round, you will turn in all 3 of your remaining crown rewards and get the points for each one of those. So that's the end of the game, and you probably are exhausted mentally from playing the game at that point. You then convert all of your goods, wood and bread, 1 for 1 into money. And for each 5 money you have, it's reals, but I just call them money, you get a prestige point, round down. And then the player with the most pirates loses 16 victory points off the track. You keep the pirates, actually, you keep these secret. Like, you know, and the tokens can mean different things, but you don't tell anybody how many pirates you have, because it should be kind of, you could, I guess, keep track in your head if you had an idea of where somebody was. But you definitely, like, keep that secret so nobody knows where you're at. But if you have the most pirates, you lose 16 points. If you have the second most pirates, you lose 8. Third most loses 4, and the fourth most loses 2. If you have no pirates, you don't lose anything. And then you earn, and also if you, like, have more than 20 pirates, you lose 1 extra point per pirate above 20 that you have. And the winner is the player with the most points. If there is a tie, you determine the tiebreaker by the turn order for the last turn. And that's the game. So, yeah, I mean, there's just... the theme is a little loose, to put it in a way. You know, it doesn't really feel like I'm playing a harvesting game. It doesn't really feel like I'm playing a shipping game. It doesn't really feel like I'm playing a colonizing game. This game just feels like a mental slog to me, but a very fun and taxing mental slog. And it definitely it hits all of my really deep heavy Euro crunchy needs that I look for in a game like this. So, but I'll tell you more about all of that in my conclusion, which I'll do right now. Somebody once asked why I wear a Minnesota Twins hat. It's because I live in Minnesota, and I've been a Minnesota Twins fan my entire life. And at least they've won a couple of World Series, so they actually haven't totally broken my heart each and every year like the Minnesota Vikings do. And I was actually in the stands, Game 7, 1991. I saw Jack Morris pitch that 10-inning game. So, there you go. All right. Madeira. So, oh my goodness. So, where do I even begin with Madeira? Okay, theoretically, you've watched how the game is played, or if you skip by that portion, you know how the game is played. I went over it pretty well, in my opinion, in the beginning, the beginning explanation that I gave, the introduction, if you will. You know, it just hits on all the little levels that I like. I mean, really high level, it's a worker placement game, which I really, really enjoy. I enjoy, I like the idea of putting my little people out there and having them work for me and what have you. And I really like how the people are bouncing back and forth, you know, and like, you know, they go and do this, and you can move them over here. And so, it kind of reminded me of Nations a little bit like that, in that respect. But it's one of those things where, you may really desperately need, say, to move somebody up to the city watch, you know, because you've got too many pirate tokens. But where do you take the guy from, you know? You don't want to take him maybe out of the city because maybe you have a crown favorite you want to turn in for that, but you don't want to take him off the colonies, you know, because of the fact that that's kind of a free resource over there that you're just going to get every single time. And plus, and you don't want to take them off of the other, the three different areas of the islands, because that's where you're getting your resources from when you harvest. And so it just adds that agonizing choice on top of already agonizing choices. I really like the fact that it's really not very common that you actually get to take your workers back off the board and put them in front of you. Once they're out there, I mean, there are situations where they can return home, but for the most part, once they get out there, they're out there. And you need to figure out how you're going to feed them each turn, because otherwise you're taking those pirate tokens. And while we're talking about pirate tokens, I really wanted to say that I like the fact that there's no Stone Age starvation strategy here. You can't just say, screw it, I'm just going to take all the pirate tokens I possibly can, I'm not going to worry about food, and I'm just going to go ahead and take, do whatever I want with my people. Because, for one, you still need food, if you're going to want to place your action markers with your dice, on the spots that, because you need the extra food to pay for them to go there. And secondly, you can't. There's no maximum negative points, if you will, because fine, you scored the least, and so you get the big negative chunk at the end. You have the most pirates, so you get the big negative chunk at the end of the game. But for every one after 20, you keep losing points. So you can't just say, to heck with it, and just keep collecting pirate tokens like a crazy madman. Along with the workers, I like the fact that the ships, once you put the ships out and they're doing their work for you, you can't ever take them back. You can't ever get those guys back. They're out there. So in other words, you put out a couple extra ships in the first couple rounds of the game, all of a sudden that's extra wood that you have to maintain, for the rest of the game. And, another agonizing decision just makes the game a lot of fun. And plus, maybe it isn't even an agonizing decision. You just don't have the forethought, like me, to, think forward to 2 or 3 rounds down the line where it's like, these ships really aren't doing anything for me anymore. Why did I put so many out there? Things like that. And then, okay, all that put aside, now you just get to the whole point with the dice. And it's just and I now realize that a lot of people don't like dice and Euros. It adds that random aspect to the game. And they're really, I'll say yes, there is dice in this game, but this game doesn't really feel really random. I mean, because the dice don't really limit your choices so much, it's just, it makes your choices more costly. So, and of course, taking the pirate die and things like that, kind of mitigates that a little bit. And, the other random aspect of where the player cards end up on the different spots, that's, also very interesting as well. I mean, but you can work your way around that. I mean, other than those two things, there really isn't any random aspect to the game. I mean, some of the setup is random, but everybody can see that. It isn't like it's a hidden card in a deck, where it shows up and you're like, oh, I wish that I knew that was there. I mean, you know where it is. You have that decision. Throw in the fact that, the turn order mechanism is not so much I pass, so I get to go first. No, you pass, and then you have to decide which action you want to take, which one do you think is going to be the best for you. And the fact that the turn order kind of changes midway, through the game, through the round, I should say. Plus just the whole point of, collecting this resource. Yeah, it is a collect this resource and turn it into this, and then turn it into a situation where the points are kind of almost an after effect, because you do get points, little tiny chunks of points here and there, but for the most part you're getting points when you turn in those crown favors, and so everyone that you take like that, it's building to that point of trying to make sure that you have your items or your places put in piece, your puzzle pieces put in place. Can't talk. So you can score those maximum points, because honestly, I mean, it's like if you don't max out or come close to maxing out your points with those crown favors, you're going to get left behind. And so like the first round it's kind of easy because you just have one of the two that you want to turn in. You can kind of just focus on that one. Say it's money, okay, fine. Turn in a bunch of sugar cane, and you get a chunk of cash, and then so bam, 15 points like that. But after that, it gets more difficult because you start diversifying because you're turning in 2, and then in the 5th round of the game, it's even worse because you're turning in all 3 of them that you have left, and so you'll find yourself just kind of like, I liken it a lot of ways to, like, if you've ever driven a manual transmission car, which I love, which of course doesn't exist anymore pretty much. It's like when you're trying to shift and you're not going and you can't, get into the 2nd or 3rd gear because you're not going fast enough, or you're not putting the clutch down far enough, and all kinds of things like that. And so it's like there's these hiccups that you have to kind of stomach and smooth over as best as possible so you can move forward and score the points that you need to win the game. Nobody's going to win this game, in my opinion. There's two thoughts I have on this. You can get a little bit of points, especially with like the city watch. If you can pull that extra guy off, which is one of the few ways you can actually get a guy back to your home, which is really nice because then you have to feed him. If you can get that extra 4 points, like on a continual basis, that's a healthy chunk of points. Because the game doesn't give out. This isn't a point salad game. And there's all those other little tiny ways you can get some points as well. I mean, but it's never a big chunk of points like you have when you turn in those crown favors. Every decision is really tough to make. It never feels like you have enough time to do what you want, and you just feel like no matter how good you're doing, you feel like you've left points on the table, and so then you want to come back and play it again and give it another shot. I mean, I've yet to win a game, but I still feel good about myself when I get done with the game, even if I didn't win. Well, I better, because I don't win much, because I just can kind of draw on the game and I can say, wow, that 1 or 2 rounds there where I kind of put that together, that was really good. If I could only just do that like every single round of the game. I don't think this game is quote-unquote solvable. I don't think it has a I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's played it 50 times and says, no, you need to do this and you'll win every time. But I don't think this game has like one of those like solvable scenarios where everybody just kind of goes at it and then has to figure out a way to put their pieces together to figure that out. There's so many different, the whole multiple paths to victory. It's just being able to seize those multiple paths to victory when they show up, and then harvest them for the maximum point potential that they can give you. So it's a fantastic game. If you are looking for a analysis paralysis, mind crushing Euro, I strongly suggest it. This isn't the heaviest game I've ever played as far as Euros go. Definitely not, but it is right there. I mean, it's just a step or two behind. And I kind of went into this a little bit blind. It sounded neat. It didn't sound like your standard harvest points game that a lot of these games turn out to be. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I don't feel like I'm on the island of Madeira. I don't feel like I'm doing anything. I feel like I'm just kind of working a puzzle. And so the theme doesn't really drive this game for me. It might drive it for some people, but it doesn't matter because I don't need this game to be thematic for it to be fun. I need the game to be challenging, not so much to beat the other players, but just to beat, for lack of a better term, myself. Like retrain my mind to think in a different way and do better, if you will. Like the big thing is like I know I'm really enjoying a game if all I'm doing is trying to maximize my turns and maximize my points, and I'm not even paying attention to the scoring track to tell how well I'm doing compared to everybody else. And so when I'm doing that, I know I'm having a lot of fun because I'm not even caring about the winning or losing. I'm caring about the game. So there you go. Madeira, it is out. It's in stores. As I said, strongly suggest checking this one out and picking it up if, like I said, somewhere along this path you figured out this is a game you think that you and your gaming group would enjoy. It is a blast with 4 players. It is a blast with 3. I haven't played it with 2, basically because every member gaming group really wants to play this game and really wants to play it all the time. So I haven't been in the situation where I can only have one person to play, and this is not a game my wife would play as much as I've begged. Maybe if I like did the laundry for a month, she'd do it, but I doubt even that. So, all right. Until next time, this was Undead Viking. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this review. If you have any questions or concerns or whatever, go ahead and ask away, and I'll answer those to the best of my ability. Until next time, thank you very much. Bye-bye. Oh, have an awesome day.